Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Black Desert, Green Medic here, and today we're going to go over Tamer's Rabam and Absolute skills. I have a severe lack of skill points, and I'm going to go over what the hell I got, because clearly skill points is a severe issue for the Tamer class. First off, I'm just going to quickly go over like what I lost and also what I gained. So I lost Beast Rampage level 4. While this skill is extremely highly sought for, the 70 skill points could be better allotted into other skills that can be used for the time being. Soaring Strike I also lost as well. While the Tamer doesn't have very much of any kind of knockdown potential, this is one of the few skills where she does have it. Ascension, never really used it that much, didn't find any purpose for it, and Howling is pretty much pointless except for PvE, which is still pretty pointless. So we have here the pre-awakening skills. While a lot of people have taken Bolt and Jolt Wave Absolute, the damage ratios are really nice, I will agree, and with that, a lot of people have said, like, you know, of course it's huge damage for what it is, especially for PvE. Jolt Wave itself is extremely powerful, but then you need to have the whole thing spec'd. I actually have it all taken all off, and I took Flash Absolute and Flash Pulse Thrust and Flash Snatch Shift instead. There's huge reasons behind that, but I'll go over that in a bit. I've lost Trample as well, down to its base level. This is mostly for a canceling or an attack. I'll probably spec it up sometime later, but right now I barely use this anyways in combat or in PvP of any sort. Trembling Fear should be brought up to Absolute if you can. It's an extreme amount of skill points as well, 55. The main difference is a huge boost when it hits Absolute is 1,627 times 3 with a 50% crit rate on itself and super armor. And that is insane for what it is in terms of an Absolute jump from a power scaling. It is a huge increase, but it is 55 skill points. I tried bringing Absolute Roaring up to here. It was absolutely pointless. The damage doesn't seem to do that much more on PvE, or either that I was in a AP capped area. Either way, I didn't really see much of a difference, so I don't think this is really worth it until like way late when you have just nothing else to spec, and you should spec it just because you can instant excel through while roaring and slowing people down in PvE and PvP or whatever, which is really strong. Surging Tide, never saw a point to get this. It's just overall leaves you wide open. If it was super armor, maybe, but because it's only forward guard, I didn't really see much of a point. Void Lightning should also bring this up to Absolute if you can when you get the skill points. I only got it up to level 4 as well with Trembling, simply because so you could get Resonance. I really don't think Horror Slam is worth taking. Because it's the damage comparison is just completely different, and I don't really see how this might be better than Resonance. Resonance is kind of like a dominant choice to take. It just the damage on this thing is insane. You can one shot a whole group of mobs with this thing. It's basically like an execution move or a gigantic nuclear bomb. Around the Tamer. This is your strongest hitting attack, probably the strongest Rabam skill that exists. The thing is that it gives stun on first hit and knock back on PvP on the last hit. Is double CC basically, super armor while you're using it, and the damage ratio is just through the roof. It's at least, what is that, 7 times 1356, and then the last hit is 3000%. You're looking at like a 12,000 burst here, non-critical. So if you have critical, say you absorb your pet and you have critical 5 and you have a skill awakening skill add-on buff that gives 20% crit rate like Legendary Beast Dance, you're looking at 100% crit rate here basically, and that's gonna pretty much double. So you can drop 24,000% worth of damage on somebody and you pretty much explode them in the face and they'll just be gone. If they survive it, just continue your CC combo. So the damage output is insane for the Tamer with the Rabam skill of the first one. The second one, I took Legendary Beast Claw over Jolt Stab. The main reasons for that is because Jolt Stab has no protection whatsoever. It seems like an open move that just looks like you might get you caught. The only appeal for that is basically knockdown, something that Tamer doesn't have much of. It's good because it's knocked down on one hit, so literally you just have to tag somebody with it and they'll go flying. But the thing is, there's no forward guard, there's no super armor. You're gonna have to use it when your enemy is actually CC'd, so it would not be good within like a large PvP scale sense. And also the damage is higher than Legendary Beast Claw, but Legendary Beast Claw, I took it because it has a little bit of a forward boost, and the forward boost is very nice. It also gives you DP plus 10, something that Tamer always needs is more DP because she's already really squishy, and also super armor while moving. So after the first swing, the second swing you'll be in super armor as you're moving forward. So a bit of a small escape push too, which could be helpful in minor situations. Whereas the Jolt Stab, it's just mostly to reduce your enemy's defense to make them more squishy, and does decent damage, but probably only when they're on the floor. I wouldn't really use this if they're standing up, unless you have them in a stun, which will follow through into the Jolt Stab. Both of which don't have critical, so critical again is probably useful for Tamer unless you want to just wait until the power cycle of Absorb Heilang happening every 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So I'm gonna move on to why I took why I lost Jolt Wave basically entirely, and even Ultimate Bolt Wave. Like I only used this basically to weapon switch in the middle of a combo. Flash, Absolute Pole Thrust, and Flash Stance Shift would output more damage than Absolute Bolt Wave and Jolt Wave if you have critical. This all bends on the fact that you have critical. If you have critical, these 3 attacks do much more damage than Bolt Wave. That's assuming you land the criticals, obviously, but you can get about like a 40% crit rate on general, considering if you're going to be obviously still be farming in awakening weapons, and you're going to be switching into pre-awakening to use these skills instead, which keep your damage output very high. I didn't want to get into a bad habit of just spamming Bolt and Jolt Wave everywhere as well, which tends to, you know, habilitate bad habits and bad combos and just self-reliance on PvE mobs with not using very much of anything else. That's one of the other reasons, because I like to try and practice my combos on mobs that can be CC'd, like Haas, Jail, Akhman mobs, certain Manchoms as well. There's just basically mobs that can be launched, knocked down, or bound, or stunned and whatnot, so it really is helpful in that sense. I also took Upper Claw to Absolute. Now the thing with Upward Claw here is that from regular to Absolute, the damage on this thing goes up insanely, mostly because the hit damage here goes from 561 times 2 and 561 times 2 with a crit rate of 20% to basically 785 times 3 and 785 times 3. The main appeal of this thing here is the air attack on good 2 hits. It should actually say air smash. I don't know why it says air attack. With that extra hit in Absolute form, it basically gives you an extra roll when you grab somebody to air smash them, which would probably trigger Water Slice far more often. I hear a lot of Tamers saying that, oh, their Water Slice like never works or whatever, and Overclaw only hits them when they're on the floor. The thing is, because this doesn't hit very many times, so when you go into Absolute form, you have a much better chance of it air smashing somebody. And if you air smash somebody with this, since it's all air attack, and the moment you grab somebody, you're launching them, the damage output just goes through the roof. When you have critical as well, it just skyrockets and goes exponential. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody was wearing like drinking a sky elixir, just vaporize people just from a grab. Like basically Tamer grabs are extremely dangerous, so try not to get grabbed by a Tamer, and if you're a Tamer, try and grab people. And then the other reasons for taking the Legendary Beast Claw is that having a high level Heilang Scratch is what happens is when you have enough skill points, you can also take all the cancels as well that I've shown in previous Tamer guides, where you can cancel your movement and just basically be, you know, just hopping around everywhere and being pretty hard to catch, or throwing like an iframe tree climb and then just cancel out with a Heilang Scratch midair and then Legendary Beast Dash out. So that's the other reason, is that it chains into a flow of your SP build later on that helps with escape. So that's pretty much it. So these guys, mobs here, if you are trying to practice, generally it's about 3 CCs before you need to grab somebody for them to be reset. I'm going to take the pet off because the pet always throws random CCs of all sorts, which is one of the strongest fighting points of Tamers, because the pet can throw random CCs. It's very unpredictable for enemies to throw their patternized combos against you. Something like Zerkers or Mystics or Strikers, for instance, they all have a grab combo, which is very difficult to deal with in a one-on-one situation, whereas the Tamer as a pet that could potentially disrupt them from time to time and screw up their whole combo, giving you a chance to vaporize your enemy instead. So when you start with a Moonlight, it's mostly a stiffness, and then if you want, you can. Some people either go Vermilion Bird to just launch the person right away. If I can tag the person, I would generally go into an Azure Dragon first, so they go into a stun motion like that, and then knock them down into the floor with Beast Rampage. By then they should be about super high resistance to CCs, and that's when you lift them off the floor again and launch them into the air. When you have a decent combo, I would say it's probably catching the person in stiffness first. If you're fast enough, it should spike a person pretty hard. You can probably add a full moon into there and still stun them, and then knock them down. Then pick them up, launch them again, upward claw. And then after you do upward claw, you shouldn't actually do trample. That's a bad habit as well. Trample is mostly accuracy loss, but the thing is you can cancel upward claw with Flash. It's probably the only skill that cancels it fast enough. I've tried Bolt Wave, it's slower. I've tried, I think it was Void Lightning or Trembling Fear, it was still slower, and it just really didn't work out very well. Flash is pretty much the fastest thing if you're looking for damage output, and if you have crit, it'll be very useful. After Flash, though, the final combo is that you should switch back into all-around spinner after Flash Scatter Stance. So it takes a bit of practice. I'm out of practice right now. The NPC here is a bit of a bad example because when you launch players into an air smash, they don't go flying that far, just so you know. So this is a bit of a poor example. So it's about a 4-second combo there. What you should be able to take away from that is after the all-around spinner, you can either cancel with another Echo Pierce, and then once you Echo Pierce, if your fingers operate fast enough, if you don't think Echo Pierce cancels fast enough, you can always Legendary Beast Dance right after it to cancel it even faster. It's all timing. We're talking about like milliseconds here off, like microseconds here off. It's not. You're just trying to fit as much as you can into the time frame of your CC. So I mean, if you just Echo Slam into Moonlight, it's not that slow. But if you want to master it and go to the next level, you throw that, and then you throw your Echo Pierce straight into the Moonlight after the Beast Dash. So basically, that's one. You can cancel everything on the Tamer however you wish. All your skills are mostly spammable. And then the other thing was like the quick switching between with just a single Jolt Wave. If you switch with a single Bolt Wave, basically, you should go either into a Flash or upward claw. After a Jolt Wave, you can immediately upward claw. So the cancels, there's like no delay in between the animations as well. Seems slower than usual. I'm not used to her being somewhat slow. The other thing I normally have is attack speed plus 10% on the Beast Rampage. That's probably why the combo seems slower than usual. If you have your pet out and you absorb it and you have your insane attack speed, that's when everything goes really quick and you just have to operate your fingers faster. Essentially, like, even if you're out of combos and sometimes you just need chip shot damage, you can just sidestep and baseball bat swing people. Assuming your fingers also cancel that fast enough. I'll turn this on as well. I really don't think it'll help considering how many keys are being pressed. Also, at the end of that combo, after the all-around spinner, you should be able to wipe your enemy out with a resonance right at the end of it too. But you have many choices depending on your situation. You should try and finish it off with resonance earlier rather than later. I don't. It's better if you can throw out Resonance first before going into all-around spinner, because you want to end up in your awakening stance at the end of it, so you can actually sidestep or iframe out of situations as well. Resonance is going to be super armor while you're using it, so you should be safe using it, and then afterwards you can probably even launch out a little bit with that. And just always swap with Echo Pierce in midair rather than C-swap. I have a bad habit of C-swapping with Tamer when you don't need to. Should be able to just Echo Pierce anything to Awakening and Jolt Wave, or your Rabam skills hot slotted into the keys here to switch back to pre-Awakening. So those are the two ways that I do it. Okay, so this was the combo again with key presses shown. Oh, bad habits again. No. So your target shouldn't be, should in no way be launched that far from an air smash. So mostly after Resonance you want to go into oh my god, into all-around spinner. So yeah, and then the other thing why I've kept Legendary Beast Stance at maximum is simply because of the cooldown. The cooldown of 3 seconds is insanely useful because this thing is super armor when you're using it off cooldown. And basically through that combo you should be almost all super armor except for after the initial stun, or like not forward guard. The only time you're vulnerable is when you're using Beast Rampage, but that skill has an insane amount of damage output. So in terms of damage output, Resonance should hit really hard, just like this. Try not to cancel your Resonance too early with an all-around spinner. So holding your keys is not preferred, because if you do that, your skill is going to cancel out and you're going to lose basically a majority of your damage from canceling it. So there's also the, you can just charge somebody. Sometimes people just charge people and then you just... That's if you can cancel snipe them in a vulnerable state with upward claw. It's more reliable if you can upward claw somebody without needing to grab. Grab is more like forcing a situation, so it'll work with less floating time, but then if you do it just like from them standing without a grab, the upward smash, the air smash occurs more frequently is what I've encountered, simply because there's more time for them to be in the air when you hit them without a grab. Whereas the grab, the way it detects is a little strange. They're kind of already sort of in the air and then almost on the floor by the time the second one hit comes out, which is why the air smash barely ever occurs. Or either that is because the hits don't trigger fast enough for the air smash to register itself off the server. So that's one of the problems I've encountered doing that all the time.
Kind of already sort of in there.
It's a bit more unreliable through the grab, but it's more reliable if you're able to spike somebody through the floor. And then the other thing is trying to cancel Echo Pierce just as the staff hits, rather than let it go through all the way, because it's only 3 hits. I have it focused in double direction, mostly because the damage comes out much faster than when you ultimate it. When you ultimate it, it all focuses into the front, but I feel like the damage multipliers on the 3-hit version in double direction hits much harder simply because of scaling, whereas 540 by times 6 it doesn't feel like it hit as hard. But then when you enable this is more for PvE because the MP regen and the health regen is insane when it's all 6 hits to the front. So this is all. After that, it's just taking practice. So when you have your power bonus of Heilang Absorb, that's when you have to throw like as many attacks as you can. You should basically be on full assault permanently when that buff is on. And try not to tree climb in the middle of it, because that will really screw up with your rhythm. Still a very difficult class, I imagine, to master. I'm very rusty myself, but those are pretty much the reasons and things of why I picked these skills for the Tamer and why I've lost certain ones. And I still don't even have cancels for tree climb, which is probably one of the best iframes that lasts forever. As long as you don't collide with anything, tree climb is an extremely good cancel for iframing into or out of big attacks that people think they can get you with. And then super armor with Heilang scratch out, and then shift LMB, legendary beast power, dash forward, and that's it. By then you should be able to switch back into super armor echo pierce and then sidestep iframe and then just jump out and be on your merry way. And that's it, guys. I hope this kind of gave you some form of insight, and I'll catch you later. Bye bye for now.